Wholeness. The highest aim of psychological development is wholeness. The term must be defined against its most common misreading. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means that exclusion has ended. Wholeness is reached not by improving the psyche's contents, but by ceasing to disown them. Nothing within the psyche remains rejected. Light is included. Strength is included. The masculine is included. The conscious is included. Darkness is included. Weakness is included. The feminine is included. The unconscious is included. Wholeness emerges when all aspects of the self are brought into conscious relationship, not resolved into sameness, not flattened into a single tone, but held together within one field of awareness without any of them being cast out. The whole psyche is not the perfected psyche. It is the unexiled psyche. 10:01. The body is the map of the unexiled psyche, the Vitruvian bridge. The inclusions tabulated above are not abstractions. They are written on the body, and it is here that the lived account of this paper meets the formal account of its companion. Leonardo Divinci, Vitruvian Man, c. 1490, pen and ink, Gallery dell'Accademia, Venice. The figure is inscribed at once in the circle and the square, its limbs extended to touch both frames, the canonical image of the human body as the meeting of the two primitive forms. The companion paper reads its 14 articulation points as the Kabbaktahedron's 14 faces and the 14 dismembered members of Osiris. This paper reads them as the 14 stations of the unexiled psyche written on the body. It is one figure, and the two papers approach it from its two sides. The companion paper develops in its section on the Vitruvian 14, a geometric reading in which the 14 articulation points of the figure inscribed at once in circle and square, the canonical Vitruvian Man of Vitruvius and Leonardo, 36-37, are the same 14 as the Kabbaktahedron's 14 faces, and the 14 dismembered members of Osiris, 16. What is offered there as structure is, in the register of this paper, lived experience, and the correspondence furnishes the cleanest possible bridge between the two faces of the framework. The 14 stations partition, in both papers, as 8+6, 8 bilateral stations on the paired limbs, the hands, elbows, shoulders, hips, each with a mirror twin across the midline, and 6 axial stations on the unpaired midline, crown, throat, heart, navel, loins, base. This partition specifies in lived terms 2 distinct kinds of shadow work, and it is the bodily form of the two-sided inclusion the wholeness table names. The bilateral stations are integrated relationally. Their shadow is met as the other, projected across the midline and reclaimed from the mirror. This is the masculine reconciled with the feminine, strength with the weakness it disowned, the work of reality as mirror described earlier in this paper carried out. Limb by limb. The axial stations are integrated internally. Each is a single chamber with no twin, and its shadow is not a separate organ but its own obstructed light. Anger is vitality damned, melancholy is depth obstructed. So the integration here is the recognition that the dark charge was inside the bright chamber all along. The treasure and the dragon in the same cave, named anatomically. The keystone of the bridge is the unnamed left hand. The body's genuine asymmetry is real, the heart's leftward seat, the statistical dominance of the right, and the descending persona-building first half of life lays a moral verdict upon that asymmetry, seating its redeemer at the right hand and leaving the left hand unspoken. But because each bilateral station is the same structure mirrored, the ranking of right over left is a perceptual artifact of the forgetting, not a fact about the body. The left hand is not assigned a worse occupant. It is disowned, unobserved, which is the exact definition this paper has given of the shadow. The unspoken left hand of the tradition is the collective shadow preserved in grammar, and remembering is, among other things, the withdrawal of that silence. The moment the inclusions of the wholeness table reached the one member that language itself had refused to name. The navel, at the exact center of the circumscribing circle, the hub at which all the stations are equidistant, is the anatomical name of the observing self at the center of its own figure, the still point toward which the whole gathering returns. In the companion's vocabulary, this hub is the shared monad. In this paper's, it is the observer who is looking all along. Figure 14, the Vitruvian 14, the shared anchor of the two papers. The body inscribed at once in the square, the toroidal, manifest face, and the circle tangent to it at the base, the hyperboloidal, unbounded face, with the navel at the exact center of the circle, the hub, the observing self, the still point equidistant from all 14 stations. The 14 partition 8+6, 8 bilateral limb stations, hands, elbows, shoulders, hips, each integrated relationally by reconciliation with its mirror twin across the midline, and 6 axial midline stations, crown, throat, heart, navel, loins, base, each integrated internally as a chamber whose shadow is its own obstructed light. The same figure carries in the companion paper the geometric reading, the 14 as the cuboctahedron's 14 faces and the 14 members of Osiris. Here it carries the lived reading, the unexiled psyche written on the body, with the unnamed left hand as the last inclusion. It is one figure read from the two sides of the mirror. 11. Authenticity. Authenticity is the natural consequence of wholeness, and it cannot be manufactured. It is not a style, a brand, or a performance of candor. It emerges of itself when fragmentation dissolves. The authentic individual no longer performs an identity and no longer requires the constant defense of a self-image, because there is no longer a disowned remainder against which the self-image must be defended. Defense is necessary only where something is being hidden, from others, and first of all from oneself. When nothing is exiled, nothing must be guarded. Authenticity appears precisely when the observer ceases to reject portions of itself. It is wholeness seen from the outside. 12. The higher self. What you are looking for is what is looking. Attributed to Francis of Assisi. The model posits a higher self that stands in an educational, not a punitive relation to the person. The higher self does not punish, it educates. It continuously presents opportunities for remembrance, and it does so through the very texture of experience. Within this frame, the events of a life acquire a consistent meaning. Every trigger is an invitation, every challenge is an invitation, every attraction is an invitation, every conflict is an invitation. The purpose served is not suffering. Suffering, where it appears, is incidental, the friction of resistance, not the goal. The purpose is awareness, the purpose is integration, the purpose is remembrance. The higher self is, in effect, the curriculum's author, arranging experience so that what has been excluded is offered again and again the chance to be received. 13. Humanism and the free will of the higher self. The model carries a distinctive account of the oldest dispute in the philosophy of mind, the apparent opposition of determinism and free will, and resolves it not by choosing a side, but by locating the two terms at two different vantages on one structure. The thesis, stated in a sentence, is this: what we call destiny is the free will of the remembered higher self. This is offered as an interpretation, a lens through which the framework reads the relation between constraint and choice. It is not a falsifiable finding, and it is kept honestly in that register throughout. 13.1. The two vantages. The dispute persists because two questions are habitually collapsed into one. From inside the lived moment, the toroidal interior, the observer at the present cross-section, the next moment is not given, it is not yet seen, and the experience of choosing is real and unfalsifiable from within. From the vantage of the higher self, the whole arc seen at once, the observer remembered as awareness rather than as a point traveling through time, the same trajectory is already present in full, every excursion and return already drawn. These are not two competing accounts of one fact, they are one structure seen from its two sides. Exactly as the cover and the quotient, the persona and the shadow, the geometry and the phenomenology are throughout this volume. Determinism and freedom stop being opposites and become the same fact at two resolutions. 13.2. Why this is authorship, not fatalism. The crucial move is that the constraint is self-imposed from above. Fatalism is the doctrine that an external order compels a life from outside. The present account is its inverse. The arc a life runs is fixed, but it is fixed because the higher self, the very awareness the person will at last remember themselves to be, is its author. The seat of a life, the conditions, the limitations, the particular mirror each person is given to the local self as something received, but it was selected by the self that gives it, in the same act by which, in Part 2, the one descends into limitation for the joy of self-perception, and the tasting of what the unbounded cannot taste alone. The descent into a determined life is not a sentence served, but a choice made. The freedom is not absent from the determinism, but is its source. This is the framework's form of the deep compatibilist insight that freedom is not the absence of causation, but the authorship of it, wrapped around the perennial recognition that the author and the lived self are, in the end, the same. 1333. The relation to remembrance. This is why the account belongs to a phenomenology of remembrance rather than to a metaphysics of fate. The local self experiences its life as given. Because it has forgotten that it is the author, remembrance is precisely the recovery of the authorship. To awaken, to recognize the observing self as one's ground rather than the traveling point, is to step from the first vantage to the second, to see that what was lived as destiny was, all along, one's own free act seen from inside. The second half of life, the reversal from what I am not to I am that I am, is the gradual occupation of that higher vantage and the experience the contemplative traditions name surrender, the willing assent to what is, on this reading, not resignation before an external fate, but the local self coming into alignment with a choice that was always its own. One does not surrender to the higher self as to a stranger. One remembers that one is the higher self, and that the life received was the life chosen. Two cautions keep the claim in its proper uniform. First, this is a frame and not a finding. There is no measurement that distinguishes the higher self chose the seed from the seed simply is, and account does not pretend otherwise. Its warrant is the coherence it lends to lived experience, the way it dissolves the felt opposition between being determined and being free. Not any empirical test it could pass or fail. It is load-bearing as interpretation, in exactly the sense the companion paper reserves that word. Second, the determinism in view is of the arc, not a denial of the genuine openness of the lived moment. The observer at the present cross-section truly does not see the next moment, and that not seeing is not an illusion to be corrected, but the very condition under which a life can be lived and love can be freely given. The higher self's freedom does not abolish the local self's. It is the local self's freedom seen whole. Destiny and free will in this model are the same act of the same self, read once from within time and once from outside it.